That was Jeffrey Rietveld, one of the 12 remaining drivers we're yet to see here this evening at ESL R1 here at Gamers8. It's great to be along once again. Race 7 of the day. It's the final group. Things are getting serious. We now know the mathematical equations, sort of, and we can start to figure out who we're going to be seeing tomorrow.
Mathematical equations from commentators. That sounds like a very dangerous game to be playing, but ultimately we are starting to see how things have been shaking out. We've touched on the fact that 30 to 35 points, that's where we think you are safe inside of that top 12. Dara McCormack, 21 points. Sebastian Joe, 24 points. Marco Pajic, Kevin Ellis Jr. on 29 points. Those are the drivers inside of the top 12, but very much worried about this final group of the day.
Yeah, because is it going to be lower than that? Is it going to be more? How many points are you going to require? But for 36 of the drivers, they can do no more. Some of them already know, in fact 24 of them already know that they will not be driving tomorrow, and they'll have to set their sights on Saturday, where we will return for the Teams Championship, and they'll have to do it all over again and hope that the same fate doesn't befall them twice in 1 week. At the moment, there's 12 drivers sat at their wheels at the moment, sat in their rigs, raring to go at the Hockenheim ring we're seeing for the second time. Today it was our second track of the day. Earlier on, Kevin Siggy took the win in somewhat strange circumstances, I've got to be honest. It was a bit of a bizarre race in some ways. What are we going to see here?
Not really sure. I think qualifying here, especially with how long a run it is out of turn 2 in towards the Parabolica. We're talking a good 1.3 odd kilometers. It's not as long as what we just saw at Spa just a race ago, but it's where you're going to get the best opportunity to make a really aggressive send. Qualifying inside of the top 6 here, I think, is a good start. Qualifying inside of the top 4, even better.
And we move forward then into qualifying. One shot as always, everybody going out one by one, as we have seen many times already. In fact, today, and we'll be seeing a lot more over the course of the weekend. On board with Dane Warren then, he'll be setting the benchmark for Porsche Coanda Esports. And just to let you know, by the way, mathematical equations, I mentioned earlier that they already know what they have to do. Any driver who gets more than 21 points in these 2 races will guarantee themselves a place in the next round tomorrow, and definitely the case. That means 1 race win is enough.
Don't describe it like that, though, because that says if multiple drivers got more than 21 points, they may be good. But who's going to be good at that point? So we've got an idea. 21 points gets you into the top 12, but where will it stack up with the other 12 drivers in this one? Ultimately, as well, we mentioned at the end of that race at Spa for Dane Warren, for Joshua Rogers. We've seen Mitchell de Jong as well as Mac Buckham fail to make the finals. It's now on the Australians to represent the Porsche Coanda Esports team.
You were saying earlier, don't trust commentators' maths. I've just proved your point there, live in the flesh. So yeah, we'll just hold our horses on that a little bit. Dane Warren then, making his way into the final sector of the course. He's had a decent season at times in the regular spring season, but Phil was a little bit too aggressive in places where he maybe didn't need to be. I'm thinking about the first day at Spa, if you remember our big opening in Poland. I think he was in quarter-final 2 or something, and he was in second place, top 6 make it through, made a dive where he didn't really need to, and unfortunately missed out on the major by a few points. What can he do here this weekend? Certainly has the potential. What's the benchmark he will set for everybody else? It's a 36.0 for everyone else to beat.
Fairly competitive. We saw pole times at the spring major in Munich about 136s, low 136s, so right around where he expects to be. But Moritz Lohner, very unhappy. And did he get a slowdown in through that entry into the arena section? The first and second sectors seemed relatively competitive, but drifting through the penultimate corner, not all seeming well for the Maus number 20.
No, and his engine note just seemed a little bit wrong there through the Mobil 1 curve, so not sure what was going on there. Over the line for Moritz Lohner, and it's a 36.5, which doesn't suggest slowdown, just suggests mistake maybe.
Final sector, you see Jeffrey Rietveld getting very close to that gravel, maybe for Moritz Lohner just digging his left side tyres into that and arresting the momentum. For Jeffrey Rietveld, we just had a lovely little chat with him, and now he focuses up on the driving into the final sector. Very quick and very competitive first sector, equally competitive in the second. What does the third have to offer?
Out of the final turn now for the Dutch driver. The 36.0 is the benchmark, and it's a 36.2 for Jeffrey Rietveld. He will be in second place as Team Red Line aim to get another driver to join Kevin Siggy tomorrow.
It's Bono House that will be the next up towards the line in the Mercedes AMG Petronas number 10, of course, for Marco Pajic and James Baldwin currently sitting inside the top 12. Can they get a third driver in and someone that has seen so much success over the world of sim racing?
Over the line for Bono House now, it's a 36.3, just about. 0.399. By the way, House has the very real opportunity of knocking out his teammate here, which could be a bit of an interesting one a little bit later on, but let's see if that happens. Thibaut Casabon is into the final sector as well. He's not one of the regular drivers throughout the entirety of last season for R8G, but in place of Risto Capit here, and we'll see how he's getting on, getting up to speed really with the Rennsport compared to some of his teammates especially.
Someone that we've seen a lot on the world of iRacing, and that's one of those transitions that some drivers have said it's a little bit more difficult in terms of the lap time. That's definitely not going to be competitive. Slow down surely, 2 seconds off the pace of Dane Warren.
Joni Tomala was our LG driver to watch from this group, mainly not because we think he's going to win particularly, in my opinion anyway. We think he's going to be right on that bubble between 12th, 13th, you know, where's he going to be? I personally don't think he'll be in the top 5 of these little standings here, but could be proved wrong. Let's see. Joni Tomala makes his way out of the final turn and finds himself towards the line now. Unfortunately, it's a 37.7, probably a slowdown in there too.
Well, I guess you're right.
Thanks.
Well, we'll have to see in the second race if it was true qualifying speed or if there's potentially some more to come from Joni Tomala. Oscar Bixrud, 16 years young, and someone that came over to the heroic squad with Tommy Osgaard, and someone that we continue to see develop one of a very young crop of Norwegian drivers that continues to get quicker and quicker.
Out of the final turn for him then, for Heroic, who are having a decent day. Tommy Osgaard still the only driver in there for them, but it's third place for Bixrud. That's a good lap time. Weren't expecting too much from him actually this weekend, but you know, this will be a good performance for him to show himself inside that top 12.
Look at those names that he's beat. Bono House, Moritz Lohner, 2 of the top of the sim racing world, and Heroic as a whole seemingly very strong. Yes, only Tommy Osgaard sits in the top 12. That does not reflect the speed that they've had, as Peter Berryman of the Corby crew, late arrival here at the ESL R1 sponsored by Aramco tournament, but a relatively decent qualifying attempt. He jumps just behind Oscar Bixrud.
Yeah, 36.3 there, and on the second row at the moment as we look at Gustavo Ariel. Recently won the first round of the Racing Prodigy Championship that's won him a real-life drive in the United States of America, and he was very pleased about that, I can tell you. Well, you can as well because you were there. But we'll see what he can do here at ESL instead. Getting used to a new sim though, a little bit, and new surroundings as well, could be tricky.
Turned 22 a week ago on Friday, so he is still very young. So much to talk about in the story of Gustavo Ariel as well. 36.609, only good enough for 7th though. And
a spectacular pirouette on the entry towards turn 1 as well. Another debutant here for Pedro Sanchez. He's more formally known as a downforce driver, really, prototypes, that kind of thing. Endurance in some cases as well, which may not play into your hands, particularly here. But what can he do in the BMW GT3 here on Rennsport? It's not bad, but it needs to get up to speed a little bit more and shakes his head, actually. It's still holding himself to a very high standard, only down in 8th at the moment.
It's going to be Kuba Brzezinski next for the Mercedes-AMG Team Williams Esports in that number 9. Dara McCormack's inside the top 12, but we expect him to be bumped out. If anything, Williams will be hoping that it's Kuba Brzezinski that can do the bumping out. Second sector, a couple of tenths maybe off the pace, but first sector relatively good. At the line, jumps into the 36s, a 36.319.
Yeah, he does really need to save their day, because Dara McCormack is in the top 12 at the moment, but it's mathematically impossible for him to stay there. So it's up to Kuba Brzezinski to salvage everything now. Same for Tembulik Bassi as well for FaZe Esports. Driver who's not got a lot of experience on Rennsport either, and is going to struggle to get up to speed, you'd imagine.
He was very much coming into this one knowing that he wasn't going to be fighting in the Drivers' Championship, but he hopes that in the Team Championship he can play his part. Of course, someone that races over in Super Formula in Japan, has raced in Formula 2, has so much speed in the real world. It's still a 36.9, relatively competitive, jumps into the top 10.
And it says a lot about those two debutants, doesn't it, Sanchez and Bullet Bassi, that they are strong drivers and they're both right up there with each other, but a bit away from the rest.
They're both downforce drivers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So a bit of a different prospect for them. But Dane Warren is very much at home, and he takes the ALJ fastest qualifying lap for this session. Is pretty pleased with himself as well. So let's have a look at who's behind him with our starting grid for race 7 of the day. It's Timo Casabon alongside Yoni Tormala, those two with slowdowns on their day. Jembalik Bassi and Pedro Sanchez on the next row ahead, getting up to speed. So is Gustavo Ariel in 8th, to be fair. Moritz Lerner will be disappointed with 7th, you'd imagine, with Bono House in 6th place. Peter Berryman is inside the top 5, and Oscar Bixrud probably the pick of the session from 4th place. Kuba Brzezinski inside the top 3 with Jeffrey Ripbeld and Dame Warren, who takes the pole position. Said at the start that Dame Warren's got a lot of potential to make his way into the top 12 here. That is going to put him in a good stead to do just that.
He had plenty of pole positions in the quarterfinals in the spring season, but sometimes got involved in incidents that weren't always his fault. Sometimes did drive a little bit too aggressively, but he is delighted to have moved from Australia to join up with the Porsche Coanda Esports drivers in Gronau over there at the hub as well, and points at the Porsche logo on the back, and we're expecting to see a feisty Dane Warren come the race.
Yeah, racing at slightly more sensible times in the day, I'd imagine, as well, now that he's here. There it is, 36.0 from Dame Warren. And that is the fastest lap we have seen in that particular session here at the Hockenheim. In terms of those behind, Jeffrey Rietveld up there, we've got to talk about Oscar Bixrud, though, in my opinion. He was fantastic. Got into form a little bit throughout the regular season. Now he's showing that all of that work he's put in over the course of the last 6 months or so has been fruitful. Yeah,
joined the Coanda Esports team as part of the inaugural class of the Coanda Junior drivers, and we've seen his development, made it to the Porsche Esports Super Cup. I saw him get promoted to the main Coanda Esports team, and very much seeing the speed. But I'll jump to the points for a second here, because you're right, Dara McCormack mathematically eliminated. Not necessarily the case for Sebastian Jobe with 24 points, depending on how the race winners play out and how the rest of the drivers end up going. Sebastian Jobe all but mathematically eliminated, but he's hoping for that miracle.
I don't know the probability on that at the moment, but I'd be willing to bet it's less than 10%.
Less than 1%, surely.
Maybe, yeah. So, sorry, Seb, but you've not got much of a chance. I'm sorry about that. G2 has certainly got a chance in the teams, though, so watch out for them. They've got a strong overall team, I would say. So, yeah, look out for them on Saturday, because at the moment, Yoni Turmala is really their only hope. He's got to slow down in that first qualifying lap, though. That's really damaging. We've seen with Darren McCormack, for example, how damaging it is.
And to talk about the potential for a tiebreaker here, Kevin Ellis Jr. and Marco Pajic currently tied for 9th. If there are 3 drivers that get more than 29 points here today, guess what, Ewan? We've got a shootout.
You are a drama stirrer.
I'm waiting for this. I can't wait.
Oh dear me. Well, we personally hope that we see that, but let's find out. Hockenheim is the first place we've got a visit to do just that. It's the 7th race of the day, and it's Dame Warren who will be starting it from the front, looking for a good launch off the front row in the 3rd Porsche Coanda Esports pole in a row. It will be lights out here in Germany, and we're underway. Dame Warren has got off to a good start. Jeffrey Rietveld should tuck in behind, or will he go for the lead? He will! In towards turn 1, contact between them, and Kuba Brzezinski will get involved as well. It's free wide in towards turn 2 as the Williams Esports driver looks to sandwich his team's afternoon with a move down the inside in towards turn 2. He's done it, and the young Oscar Bixrud is trying to get involved as well. Free wide very briefly with side by side for the lead.
It's going to be the red line BMW that's stuck on the outside, has got to watch out as Oscar Bixrud in the heroic Porsche watches as Dane Warren takes it 3 abreast into the braking zone. Who's the bravest of them all? Maybe 4 wide for a moment, but it is Dane Warren on the inside that forces Brzezinski to make Rietveld concede, but somehow, with a couple of cars avoiding action, running a bit wide, safely through that treacherous hairpin.
And through the middle is Oscar Bixrud here with Rietveld on one side, and through the inside is Peter Berryman into 3rd place. Polo House doesn't know where to go here, and Bixrud's on the outside. He's going to get pushed way wide by Berryman. Now Rietveld's on the outside. They're free wide again. They don't all realise House is off the road in towards contact as well, and the cars scatter in behind. Car spins around, it's Polo House who's going to finish last by the looks of things. We're still side by side. Jeffrey Rietveld on the inside of Bixrud into the Mobile 1 curve.
Incredible stuff here on the opening lap, and finally we're getting the battles. These drivers know what they have got to do. They have seen 3 groups go through, and Bixrud still on the inside. We'll try and get Jeffrey Rietveld compromised into the final corner, but Rietveld finally able to get back into line. Drops to 4th position behind Brzezinski and Berryman, but it's Warren that leads after the dramatic turn number 1.
What a battle that was. What a first lap that was as well at Hockenheim here at absolutely fantastic racing, and it's not over yet because Moritz Lerner has got Gustavo Ariel down his inside and towards turn 2. A wonderful exit from the first turn by the Brazilian, and it may well have bought him 6th place here. On board with Lerner we go. He'll hold on for now, but he'll have some defending to do into the hairpin.
First and second slightly breaking away. Of course, with Berryman making the move late in the lap, it allowed Brzezinski to hold to the back of Warren. There was an aggressive jink to the inside, though, from Thibaut Cazelbon, trying to get on past on Gustavo Ariel in that Fury machine. Deep under the brakes goes the RAG Audi, and now gets compromised. Can Joni Tormala slip up the inside?
Cazelbon drops back, and Joni Tormala will look to the inside. He won't get there. Now Gustavo Ariel's the one under pressure. Cazelbon with a good exit here and towards the Mercedes arena. He's late on the brakes, but I'm not sure late, well, too late in fact, as it turns out. Joni Tormala will get down his inside at the corners where he made some great moves in Munich, taking the lead from about 5th place in 1 lap through that particular section. It's still side by side towards the final turns.
One thing that, again, just to reiterate, Josh Rogers, team manager in that Porsche Commander Esports crew, did let us know penalty points carry over into tomorrow's competition, even though the championship points get reset, and so you've got to be careful. Don't want race control who look from up above inside that stage to be investigating anything, and Gustavo Ariel watches as Tormala and Cazelbon continue to flirt with contact.
And Cazelbon not able to make that move into the final turn, and so they will finally get single file again. But what an opening couple of laps we've seen here. You can tell that it's the end now. You can tell that this is the final group. They know what they have to do, and the intensity's just been wrapped up that little extra notch just at the very end here, and it's producing some fantastic racing. Peter Berryman's going to be the one under pressure though for me here. Jeffrey Rietveld will want to regain some of those places, so will Oscar Bixrud. Berryman will be on the defensive.
Yeah, Berryman, of course, in that Apex Racing Team camp has seen Kevin Ellis Jr. have some success, but both Johan Harth as well as Jamie Fluke have struggled. Berryman sees the dive to the inside from Rietveld, but the red line BMW unable to take advantage, and status quo remains, albeit with the gap to the front continuing to build.
And the gap to Bixrud as well just closing as the heroic driver now just begins to lurk. He'll be looking for any bit of weakness from Jeffrey Rietveld as he tries to work out this move from Peter Berryman. Dave Warren and Kuba Brzezinski are a second apart at this stage, and a second and a half back to Berryman from here as well. They're as good as gone at this stage.
They are as good as gone. Also at the back, almost as good as gone, Pedro Sanchez Albert and Jem Bullock Bassi continuing to squabble. The two downforce drivers making their debut in through the final sector, with Bullock Bassi in the FaZe Clan Porsche getting in front.
Yeah, that was a nice move from the Super Formula driver, currently over in Japan, driving in that series, with a couple of rounds to go, I believe, to really flex his muscles once again. Pedro Sanchez Albert here, just in behind, as you can see, on board with him. Big learning curve for him this weekend. You were saying this to me a couple of days ago about the fact that it's not only a different sim, it's a different type of car really he's learning here.
We've seen him have success not just in the prototypes of late, especially now joining with the BMW BS Plus competition and their brand new BMW M Hybrid V8, but also going back to 2021 in the ISOWC and an IndyCar Championship, where we saw among the highest ever strength of fields in competition. Pedro Sanchez Albert up towards the front, got some podiums as well. Going back to Jem Bullock Bassi's time in Super Formula, by the way, he was telling me couple of things he's been doing this year that have made him quite happy. Oh, we'll get back to that in a moment. Berryman gets passed by Rietveld.
And nearly 3 wide here with Bixrud looking for the run, but it's Berryman who's got a better exit, and Rietveld will struggle to hang on here. There's a small chink in the road now to the right, but it will be braking zone to the left next for Rietveld, and he'll look to use it to dive down the inside, dive for that apex as well, but Berryman squeezes him well. Respectful racing between the two of them. Rietveld now wide, here comes Oscar Bixrud on the inside line into the final corners.
Tighter line compromises his speed though, and that's going to allow Rietveld to slam the door shut. Half aggressive, half defensive as they head into that final sector once again, with Rietveld kicking up a bit of that gravel. But now as the battle starts to continue to build, 2 seconds separates a first, second and third spot. Margins starting to grow.
They certainly are. It's very close here for third place, but everybody else really starting to stay away now. We're at lap 4 now, complete of this race. Dane Warren still running away. This is where the interest is for third place. And on average, of course, we've been saying all the time, third place is enough. A podium is enough in both races. That's what they're fighting for right now. This is lap 1, and what a lap 1 it was as well.
It was sensational. You'll see, by the way, Rietveld in the most compromising of positions. He fortunately didn't get the worst of it, though. It was Bono House, not tagged once, but tagged twice, and now running at the back.
I think the first tag was from Moritz Lerner. It was a red Audi, and so that narrows it down to 2. I'm going to go with Moritz Lerner there. Made the initial contact, and Bono House going to be very disappointed with that, as Jeffrey Rietveld will look to the inside. Berryman almost on the grass defending here, in towards the hairpin. It's inside for the Apex driver, and he'll take that Apex as well, will he? He'll just break a little bit too late because Oscar Bixrud is able to get the run on both of them. He's now alongside for 4th place.
This is incredible, and it's the type of racing you might associate a little bit more with where we go next as we go to Monza. It's almost pack racing. Bixrud the long way around. If he can hold it, switches back to the inside. Lohner might want a piece of it as well, but you can see how close they get, and once again, through the final couple of sectors, 3 wide they will go.
Oh, and they don't quite realise either. Rebound just comes across slightly. Lerner's down the inside, and Oscar Bixrud goes backwards again. He'll be so disappointed with this now because he's raced so well. He's qualified well as well, but it's just not working out for him in this moment. Peter Berryman has been giving a little bit of breathing room as a result of this. Jeffrey Rietveld survives another attack, but Moritz Lerner's in the top 5 now.
Halfway through, and through what we've seen, Ewan, in Group C, tyre wear plays its part, and these drivers are leaning on the rubber, trying to get every ounce of of traction and purchase that they can to get the momentum to make these overtakes happen. Who's going to be struggling? Who's been minding the tyres? Who's got the best equipment left to the end of the race?
Well, if this race continues like this, then we're going to be on the floor in a minute, because this is fantastic stuff here at Hockenheim, and it's only the precursor to the final one at Monza. It's going to be a wonderful finale to a great day of racing. Moritz Lerner slows down, and now Bixrud will go through. So will Joni Tomala, but just as he moves forward, the Norwegian could be sending himself backwards again now, as Joni Tomala will head to the outside line in towards the hairpin. He's got his nose in front on the way in as well, but just not quite the room as he will squeeze Bixrud as much as he can, and they're absolutely level off the corner.
What is going on in Group D? They've just, for some reason, figured out that we want excitement here at the very end of the day. Look at how Rietveld, by the way, continues to build the margin as they fight behind. This is the cost of battling. Bixrud once again on the outside, but now going to finally concede, I think, to Joni Tomala, who will carry the momentum in through turn number 12 with a bit of contact. Now, once again, Moritz Lohner looks up the inside.
Oh, they're 3 wide as well, almost in towards the right-hander, and Bixrud goes backwards again. We're on board with him as he ranks it round the outside here of the right-hander, inside of the next turn, and he's got it finally. He's managed to hold on to a place. Now Timo Casabon has joined in, as well as Gustavo Ariel. This battle continues to get further and further back in the order, and unfortunately for less and less points.
This is the price that they are playing with in terms of losing track of those in front. We're looking rearwards from our LG driver to watch Joni Tomala. You were saying that you were thinking he might be holding inside that top 6, hoping to get into the top 12 in terms of points. Well, he's got an uphill task on his hands. Top 5 as it runs right now.
Yeah, but how well has he raced, though, from the very back, from slowing down, or from a slowdown, sorry, in the qualifying session. He's come right from the back row, now in the top 5. It might be all he can get, but it also could be enough.
One thing that we do know is Dane Warren up front is doing enough to grab the 35 points that will surely secure his place in the next round of the Drivers' Championship. For Kuba Brzezinski behind, I think this is promising as well. He is losing a bit of ground to Dane Warren, yes, as they continue to fight behind, but he's not being closed on by Peter Berryman.
Oscar Bixrud had a bit of a chance there out of the hairpin, but couldn't quite manage it with Joni Tomala on the outside. That straighter exit and the power down earlier. It's able to hang on to 5th for the moment. Moritz Lerner just in behind that with Timo Casabon. Next in line, Gustavo Ariel on the back, and then a couple of seconds back to Jembali Bassi, who is in 10th place at the moment.
Do you have any idea how many nominations for the KFC's Colonel Choice for Best Overtake we have today?
Upwards of 10, 20.
Just from this race alone. That's going to be a difficult award to hand out.
Well, it is after this race, yeah. We were speaking about some of the others earlier. Obviously, we won't reveal them yet because, well, partly you've already seen them, but also it's a secret for the minute. And we'll do a little bit later on. But Yeah, there's some new contenders now because we've seen some good ones earlier on in the day. We've had a fantastic race here so far, and this is some of the racing that we've seen. This is with Rietveld and Bixrud side by side a little bit earlier on, and this is from Joni Turmela's point of view. He's about to gain a load of seconds in one go here.
Yeah, you're going to see the 3 wide. A lap later, it was going to be Tormela going out wide, as we saw from Rietveld. Ultimately, track limits. What track limits? We haven't seen any penalties so far, with the exception of potentially a slowdown from Moritz Lohner and redressing some positions. He's in 7th spot right now, has some work still left to do.
He certainly does from 7th place, but he's one of those drivers who does have the ability to get a pole position here and win the next race. Obviously that's easier said than done, especially with Dave Warren looking like he is at the moment, but even so, he's got work to do, and I think he knew that immediately from his qualifying lap. He immediately knew that it wasn't quite up to scratch.
In Group C, we just talked in the little gap that we had before this race about how Sebastian Job and Dara McCormack left themselves with too much to do after struggles in qualifying. We keep coming back to this innovative and so unique Super Pole qualifying format that we use, not often used in the world of sim racing, and very much puts the pressure on the drivers to get the most out of the lap.
It certainly does, and you know, it puts the onus on them as well. There's no difference in track position. You can't, you know, when there's teammates, you can't get a draft from them and so on. I know it's not a case right now anyway, but even so, it removes all of those kind of things, and it prevents you from going again and again and again and again and just hot lapping. It gives you one chance, and that is a really great show of talent, in my opinion. Those who can just go out there, adapt to what they're seeing at the time, and just be fast. And Dave Warren was able to do that. He's able to do it right now in the race as well. It's classic Dave Warren, isn't it? If he was in the pack, he wouldn't be this quick. It's, in my opinion anyway. Since he's at the front, he can't be beaten right now.
It's a good sign as well for Dane that on the first time of asking in qualifying, he was able to deliver, because we saw a bit of up and down from him in the spring season, and so now maybe back in a LAN environment, a bit more unique and a different situation for all the drivers, he's able to deliver. And like you said at the start, 3 consecutive pole positions for Porsche Coanda Esports.
That was a bit of side-by-side there, further up between Berryman and Rietveld. They're getting a little bit close as we're on the penultimate lap, and we're starting to wind down towards the end of this race. Oscar Bixrud is looking backwards, and we're looking forwards here, because Joni Turmela just in front here with Lerner right behind as well, really sandwiched in there at the moment here on lap 9. Lap and a half to go in this race.
Just got word from race control, Gustavo Ariel in the Furia number 91 on debut, running in 9th position, but maybe not for long. 10-second penalty coming his way. He'll drop all the way behind Bono House.
Certainly will, and that gives him it all to do with a probably race win, really. Well, in fact, it definitely is a race win that he'll need at the final one at Monza. There he is, just driving on his own a little bit now. Can't quite keep the pace with the Turmela-led group in 5th place or backwards, but only one lap until he can get to the end of this one. Leads very far back, doesn't he, in his seat? They've
all got the ability to slightly customize the driving position in these shared rigs. Now, all the team are using the same rig today, which is maybe a bit of a benefit, because you can work with your teammates and understand the changes that you're going to make and slightly coordinate all of those things between the group changes as we roll on to the final lap of race 1 in Group D.
Yeah, that's not going to be the case tomorrow, which is why it's an important point to bring up, because there could be, well, there are going to be, in fact, more than one drivers in tomorrow for the respective teams and so on, like Porsche Coanda, who look like they're on their way to securing not only Josh Rogers, but also Dane Warren right now. Another 10-second penalty handed out to Oscar Bixrud as well, which is such a shame after he's driven so well today. It looks like he'll be finishing maybe 11th.
Well, as Peter Berryman goes around from 3rd spot, he rejoins directly into the path of Joni Turmela as the G2 Esports BMW is left stricken at the apex of the hairpin. Not sure what happened there, if there was contact potentially between Berryman and Rietveld. End result is chaos.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Joni Turmela has a right to be very angry about that, because, well, Peter Berryman was on the apex, I admit that, but even so, he did drive straight into the G2 Esports BMW, and suddenly Moritz Lerner could be in the top 5 here. Let's see, a little bit of side-by-side. Lerner does make his way through, and Peter Berryman may well be feeling a little bit disappointed with himself there, hopefully so as well. But final lap of the race, it's all gone a bit wrong. He's gotten into Lerner as well. This is going from bad to worse now as Thibaut Casabon will get alongside as well. Further up the order, Dane Warren's about to take the win here at Hockenheim, getting himself into tomorrow, into the finals 12. But what on earth has gone on behind here? Could be anything. Peter Berryman was on the grass, he was into Lerner, he was alongside Casabon. That was chaos.
Well, Race Control had 2 penalties for this race, and I don't think we're done as the fireworks go off. One thing we can be almost guaranteed of, Dane Warren's not being robbed of that victory.
He's certainly not, because nobody saw him that race, to be honest. He fought off everyone at the start, of course, in a great opening sequence, but after that, he said, see you later, and he's taken the win, and he's into the final 12. Very pleased for him, because, as I mentioned, he's had the pace to do this kind of thing, to get into the major, for example. Couldn't even get inside the top 24 in the regular season. That doesn't reflect what his pace is like, and he's shown that here.
3 consecutive Porsche Commander Esports pole positions, 3 consecutive race victories for them as well. Oh boy, are they looking strong when we get to Saturday and the team championship.
Aren't they just, yeah, they're so, you know, we've been wondering a bit about Commander recently, you know, what's going on in terms of form and things. Josh Rogers has been very strong, of course, but some of the other drivers not quite maybe where they want it to be. Didn't get off to a good start with Mr. de Jong and McBackham, but they are having a flying finish with 3 race wins in a row and suddenly proving their worth in absolute spades.
It's really impressive to see Dane Warren be able to convert in such calm fashion once again. And now I guess we head off to Monza. Warren all but guaranteed to work on forward. The question will be what happens behind. Here's what happened to Berryman though, and he's going to make almost contact with Brzezinski. Self-spins, and you get told when you make a mistake and there's oncoming traffic, hold your brakes. Peter Berryman failed to do that. Let's take a look on board.
I'd love to see Joni Tumler's view on that, but let's see a little bit later. This was the moment for Berryman. Just got caught up a little bit with the Williams car just up in front of him. Let's go down to the stage now.
Hello, Dane. How are you, mate? You well?
I think I'm doing all right, yeah.
Yeah, I think you are as well. Sorry, I brought my own chair this time because I'm old. I've got old knees. I'm in my 30s. I think I'm allowed to say that. Dane, let's just kick off this interview by saying Hockenheim, very risk and reward track, but I feel like in a format like this, you've got to take those risks, okay? So I've got to say, that was the spiciest first corner I think we've seen today. What was going through your head when all that was happening?
I was about ready to lose it all, to be honest. I'm not quite sure what happened. I've already drawn a blank, but yeah, it was crazy contact, I think, with Jeffrey, turn 1. Lucky to get through it. And yeah, we got a giga run down into the hairpin and managed to take the lead, so that's awesome.
بالضبط اهم شيء جبنا كراسينا الحين ولا تعبنا رجولنا في الجلسه لكن سالنا المتسابق قبل شوي انه كيف كان السباق اللي قبل شوي كان جدا قريب المسافات وحتى برضو كانت ممكن تهج على الاخير وفعلا ذكر المتسابق قال انه ما يدري صراحه وش اللي صار في الاخير لكن قدر انه يتواكب مع الوضع وقدر يحقق الانتصار وهذا اهم شيء له وما يبغى يكرر غلطه في السباق الجاي.
So if we're looking from a points perspective, obviously you've guaranteed your spot in the final tomorrow, which is absolutely awesome. So pressure's off. Does that mean full send into Monza?
I think so. Monza is, I'd say, more risk and reward than Hockenheim is. So in qualifying for sure, we're looking to get that quickest lap award. So yeah, we'll definitely be having a crack and see how we go.
بالضبط لأن المتسابق قدر انه يحقق قدر يضمن برضو مكانه في النهائيات اللي راح تكون معنا بكره فخلينا نقول السباق الجاي في المضمار الجاي اللي راح يكون في مونزا هل راح يعطي كامل الطاقه ولا راح يهتم حتى برضو بالنتيجه قال انه راح بالنسبه له راح يعطي كل اللي عنده سواء انها نجحت ولا ما نجحت بالنسبه له خلاص دام انه ضمن مقعد هذا اهم شيء بالنسبه له.
The fastest lap reward. This man's not done, ladies and gentlemen, so keep your eyes on him. I love it. Dane, thank you so much for joining me in this post-race interview. I'm going to let you get back to, resetting and kind of revamping yourself for the next race. Thank you so much once again. Best of luck. GG's for that win, and we'll see you in the next race. But for now, we're going to send it over to the desk so that they can break everything down before our final race of the day, and it's the Temple of Speed.
بالضبط الحين اعزائنا المشاهدين باقي اخر سباق لنا معنا وراح نحدد فيهم من اللي يكملون باقي المشوار معنا خلينا ننتقل على طول على الاستديو ونشوف باقي السباق